Hey guys, welcome back. So, hey, first I want to say thank you for all the new follows or subscribes I've been getting, all the comments. You guys have not just been on YouTube, but you guys have been following me on Instagram. A lot of you have purchased my courses and reached out to me. So, hey, first and foremost, I appreciate you. And to show some more gratitude, I've been getting questions about faces, and one of the easiest faces, in my opinion, is a profile shot. So in this quick video segment, let's just do a quick headshot of a profile. So I'm just using scrap paper. And by the way, to those who have asked me what type of tools I use, generally I'll use a lead holder like this with a 2mm lead. I think this is HB, and then my other go-to is this one. I've had this one for years, and I think this is it's either a 2H or just an H lead inside. It's a little lighter, a harder lead, so you're going to get just a lighter line, and then this one's going to be a darker line. So with that said, I also use a small eraser like this and a kneaded eraser, and and occasionally I'll use my wooden pencil as well. Tools aren't really the most important thing. It's really how you use them. And more than that, it's your understanding and grasp of the knowledge of how things work with anatomy, with facial features, muscle contraction, and, all that good stuff. So let's go. So profile shot. Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit here. And generally when I'm doing a profile, I'll just do kind of a quick, now I'm always keeping my pencil moving. It's something I tell my students all the time. So the first shape I'll have is kind of like an egg at an angle, right? And then I will drop the front of that down and bring this in, right? And this is creating kind of a chin to jawline. Now, depending on your character, different characters have different size heads, shaped heads and all that good stuff. So some of them are egg shaped, some of them are square box shaped, some are, heart shaped. It does, it really just depends on the character and your style. So from here, what I would do is I would angle up a jawline, and I would probably stop it right about here. Right, so it's just kind of a short jawline, and I'm keeping in mind that the ear is going to go somewhere around here. Now, you don't get married to any of these lines, meaning that they're not permanent lines. That's why I'm keeping them very loose and sketchy. But from here, what I would do is I would imagine a neck, and then from this chin, I would bring in a line kind of connecting the skin to the neck, right? And then the neck, just depending again on your character. So if it's a taller, lengthier character, he's going to have a thinner neck. And if he's a more stout character, or like a bulkier character like the Hulk, or stout like Wolverine, he might have a shorter neck or hardly any neck at all. So keep those things in mind as you're drawing. And then from here, what I would do is just imagine a couple of the main muscles, like this one that connects the sternum to the neck. This is the muscle that's responsible for twisting and turning the head, and also it kind of brings out that dynamic. I think it's a cool muscle to include into your art. So then, without getting too distracted, what I would do here is I would just kind of figure out where I want my eye line to be, meaning that at what part of this area is this character's eye going to fall. So a couple things I keep in mind. One, I like to pull back a little bit. So let's say we have this is the front of his face, right? I would pull back a little bit, and I would kind of draw a line almost mimicking this line, and it would be more inset. So then what I would do at this point is I would pick a midpoint of the drawing of the head that's going towards this ear, and I would draw it in like this. Okay. Now, I like to draw things kind of at an angle because I think it gives it a little bit more style. And just, aesthetics are kind of important when you're drawing comics. So then from here, from where this line here connects with this line, I would kind of draw a line going down here, which kind of creates that musculature in the jaw, right? Now, all this stuff is subject to be moved around and shifted depending on how the outcome is. But then what I would do is right around this area where the line is going towards the ear, I would create a shape like this. It's a kind of like a reversed V, like a sideways V, greater than, less than, then I would just inset an eye shape like that. Okay. Now the reason I'm doing an angle like this is because it kind of makes it look a little bit more organic, in my opinion. So you're imagining that you have this eye socket here, and then from here you have this part of the forehead that goes up, and then you have the bridge of the nose, right? Now, if it was just a skeleton, that bridge of the nose would end right around here. And then you would have these cheekbones that would come up. And, if you don't have a grasp of this by now, you have to study some anatomy. And if you haven't, taken any anatomy courses, or if you feel like you're stuck in that, go ahead and click any information in this, and the links provided below, and you can find I have a simplified superhero anatomy class that's available. Or just watch other videos here that I've recorded. Okay, so from here, what I would do is I would draw a nose. So I'm going from, now the reason I start my nose here is I'm kind of centering it with the eye and the ear here, but this line is kind of a curve. And then I'm pulling this nose out off the face of off the edge of his face here. And then I'm pulling this nose back in. Now, something I learned, and you guys may have learned it too, and I've been using it for quite a while, is I like to take a line from this tip of his nose and bring it diagonally back towards his chin, right? And this kind of helps me to keep everything in alignment when I draw in the mouth. So with that said, you have to imagine that there's a nostril here. And then let's say that this is the tip of the nose. Well, we know that underneath the nose, you have a layer of skin that goes down and connects to the top of your lip. Now, usually that bows out a little bit, and then your lip would be inset and come in. And depending on the character's expression, this one we're just going to keep kind of mundane and just calm. So we're not making them smile. We're not using too much muscle here. Just a basic face, right? And then underneath this, we would bring his bottom lip. Now you can see that his bottom lip is not going past this line, right? So I'm trying to keep it in the coordinates with this line. And then this chin. Now the chin can pop out past the line because sometimes people have bigger, more pronounced chins. And then another thought is when you're trying to figure out where the edge of the mouth is going to be, I like to use kind of like either where the line, the eyeball begins here, and just drop that straight down. And that gives you kind of a rough estimate. Now, one thing that I will say while I'm doing this is if you're a perfectionist and you're just trying to get all these measurements exactly right, and you're breaking out your ruler and you're like, oh, this is 2.5 inches and blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. It's going to kill the life of your art. It's going to make your art come out wooden and stiff and boring. And you want your art to look more, full of life, organic, and interesting, right? And the way you do that is by, just like your handwriting, you're creating your own style, using what your knowledge and your abilities, and through repetition over and over and over again. As you start figuring out what works for you, your style will kind of shine through. So as long as you're in the proximity of, the measurements looking decent, that's all you really have to worry about. And I say this to save you the burden of kind of, what's that phrase? The analysis leads to paralysis, or something along those lines, where you're just overanalyzing, you're just overthinking things and you get stuck. Okay, anyway, I digress. So now we have all the information we need for in my opinion, a decent looking profile shot. So then what would we do at this point? So from the middle of this ear, I would draw this kind of a curvature. Now, you don't have to show this in your final drawing, but I like to show it for myself, just so I can see the shape of his head, you know, kind of get an idea of where things are falling. And it keeps everything in check. So you can do all your checks and balances, and you can say, all right, well, you can have the confidence knowing that you put all the information down that you need. And from here on out, it's just about your ability to render and draw, right? Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this and start drawing some features. So typically at this stage, I want you to have a very scribbly, sketchy looking piece of art, right? If you're the type of person who is just trying to draw everything perfectly, you know, and then you're guessing where things go, don't do that. Keep your lines very loose, keep them sketchy. You're kind of a you're a sculpturist, right? You, what is the term? Sculptor? I suppose that's it. So you're sculpting a two-dimensional object, and you're trying to make it look as though it's three-dimensional. All right. Now, the first thing I do at this stage is I dive into the eyes. So I will just darken in this lines a little bit, these lines, and I will break the eye up into segments of, okay, we have the part that's open, and then above that, we're going to have the eyelid. And then I'm going to place an eyebrow. Now, I'm giving him kind of a sedated face, so it's not too much of an expression, but it's enough to give him some character, right? So I have his eyebrow here. With his eyebrows, I tend to, you know, imagine that they're curving around to the front of his face, because remember, we're looking at a profile shot, but we're also thinking of this as being a sphere, right? So we know that he has a front side. We know he has another eye over here that we may not see, but we might see a little bit of the eyebrow, right? Oh, I don't know. Oops. I hope it's been recording this whole time. Anyway, okay. I just got the low battery notice on my phone here. So then from here, what I would do is go ahead and draw in his nose a little bit more, put in the nostril, and all this stuff that we're drawing right here, don't get too attached to it. We're going to erase it. But I'm just putting in the darker lines that I want to keep. There we go. I like to add a little bit of an Adam's apple here, and then I like to define this muscle a little bit, and I like to also keep this jaw and this jawline, I like it to overlap this muscle. It doesn't always have to, but I tend to go in that direction. Okay, now what are we going to do? Are we going to give this character hair? I suppose we could. So if we were going to do hair, what we would do is we would establish that, okay, he has a hairline, right? Generally, a hairline will go up towards the eyebrow, right? Back out, back in, and then either bow out like this, straight across, or it'll come in like this. Everyone has different hairlines as well. And then we can also straighten out the back of his neck, because if he has hair, typically that hair will end behind the ear, come out this way. Now I'm just drawing shapes. We're not drawing the actual hair yet, but we're kind of defining where the hair would fall. And this is the fun part, because once we erase this and we redraw it, I'm going to pull back a little bit. Once we erase this and redraw it, we get to add some details. And that's the fun part, in my opinion. So we know that, let's say that he has a hair part right here. Now I just picked an arbitrary point and I said, okay, I'm going to part his hair right there. Now I angled that hairline up towards the back of his skull. And I know that anything on this side of this part is going to go this way, right? And then anything on this side is going to go this way. So I can draw in one big shape here. And then I can imagine that this other hair is going to go around like this. Again, these lines are all going to be erased. I'm just doing this for myself for reference. And then I'll even give him some long hair up front just for aesthetics and style, right? I hope you guys are getting this so far. And now I'm going to go ahead and do some rendering. So in the rendering phase, what we do is we take our kneaded eraser. I hope you have one of these. If not, you can use a big eraser like this, like a vinyl eraser. But the problem with these is that they leave a lot of residue behind and you end up having to clean up. And it can also damage your paper. But these kneaded erasers are really great because they keep everything very, smudge free and very clean. So they pick up the lead very easily. So I'm not even putting too much pressure down, just enough to kind of get rid of the lighter lines, the sketchy lines, and leave the rest behind. And it doesn't have to be perfect because this is just a sketch for practice. So we don't have to get it too clean. It's not a professional job or anything like that. But I do want you guys to get the benefit of this. So I'm trying to do it as best as I can, where you still see it on the camera here. Okay. Now, again, the thing I will start with will be the eye, okay? So let's go ahead and dive in a little bit here. So I'll go in and I'll start with the eye. I'll basically start with, it doesn't matter if you start from the top or the bottom, just throw in that shape. Now, since we're doing some rendering, and what time are we at? We're at 17, 18 minutes, okay? I'll try and finish this up in 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so we're rendering this eye with the eyelash. Then we're going to come here to his eyebrow. Now we're going to shape this eyebrow the same way as we had before. Only this time, I'm going to go ahead and render it. So you can render it any way you want. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and shade it in, but not too, you're not going overboard with the shades. You're leaving some room to show that there's some strands of hair here. And then what I would do is create a stress line here and here. Just create a few of these just for, like I say, aesthetics. And aesthetics is just another way of saying making your art kind of pop and stand out, maybe look cool in some cases, or not. And then I like creating shadows and shades. So what I would do is hollow this out and go ahead and create a few lines inside. This is creating depth. And then from this nose, I'm going to give him a little hump. And then go out here and give him kind of a bubble at the end of the nose. Depending on your character's age, race, all that good stuff, they're going to have different features, right? Generally. Don't get stuck into doing a one-size-fits-all. Have all your characters have their own unique features. All right, So from here, we have the option to add the little smile line. And then I would go back here, add some details of, just kind of showing that he has a cheekbone here, going back towards his ear. And maybe even here, hollow this out a little bit. And I'm imagining that the light source is above. So let's pull back here. So I'm imagining that the light source is somewhere around here, shining down. So the back of his head's gonna have the least shadow. And then as we go further away from the light, we're gonna have more shadow, right? So we could even, underneath this nose, we can apply some shadow. Could even do this. I'm trying to draw as fast as I can, so I don't take too much of your time, but I also hope that you walk away from this video learning something that you can apply. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and draw the bottom lip, and we'll do a video on expressions maybe in the next 1 or 2 of my videos here, and I'll show you how to add a little bit of expression to your character with just, a few simple lines. So now I'm just adding some hair, and really I'm just shaping it in. So since this hair is further away from us, I'm just going to shade it like this. It kind of gives it a little contrast. And then I'm sticking with the part that's pushing this hair away from us. And as it's getting back, closer to the back of the head, you see that it's narrowing down too, right? And then you could really, if you want to do hair, you can come in here and you can do each, you can add some sheen and stuff like that. But since I'm just focused on drawing a profile shot, we're not going to get too much into detail. But then, if I wanted to go further with this hair, what I could do is just, you'll hear me say the word wisps a lot. So you can just do wisps of hair, which basically just means, you're emphasizing the curves and the flow of the hair, right? And I'm trying to get this done ASAP because I promised you 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, we have an ear here. Now, when you get to this point and you're drawing the chin, you could shade underneath like this, but don't shade over this muscle, right? This muscle is popped out closer to us, so we're gonna see it. But you can shade underneath this ear on top of that muscle. Same thing here with this lower jaw muscle here. I'm just going to accentuate it by giving it some shade. And here too, I'm just going to create a little depth. And this isn't some main character or anything like that. We're just creating this character on the fly just for fun, just for the sake of showing you how to draw a profile shot. Now, since the light's coming from above, I'm going to go ahead and shade in this ear from the top, leaving just some light bouncing off inside. And then on the top, there's going to be light. So we'll leave that alone. And yeah, we're almost done. Now for his eyeball, let's zoom in on that. So an eyeball, you can either have him looking at you or you can have him looking straight ahead. If you were having him look straight ahead, you don't want to draw his eye as a circle. You want to draw it as an oval, right? Because it's looking forward, not looking at us. And then you can draw in hints of the eyeball. There you go. And then from here, you could go ahead and you could stop right here if you wanted to. Anything else is just extra credit. You can add, let's pull back. You can add a shirt. So if he was wearing a shirt, you can give him a collar here. You could do really whatever you wanted to. Now, let's see, we beat the 6 minutes, so we just did that in 5 minutes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give him a smile, right? So I will show you a little bit of emotion. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase this part of the mouth and show you that just a few lines can change the whole dynamic of a picture. So I'm gonna, instead of curving this lip outwards, I'm gonna curve it inward like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and all I did was tilt a line up. I'm gonna give another line here to show some sort of dimple. And then underneath, I'm gonna give him a little space and I'm gonna show a little bit of an opening, okay? And then now I'm gonna wrap around this bottom lip so it wraps around. Now the top lip, you're not seeing too much because it's curving around. But then the bottom lip, you can tell that it wraps around to the other side of the teeth. Then it's a very, very basic shape, I know. And it might even look too easy for you, but trust me, just little moves like this change the whole dynamic of your sketch. Now you can add some little crow's feet here. And you know, we just did this on scrap paper and it wasn't a serious sketch. It was really just designed to show you the principles of drawing a profile shot. Now we can check our lines, make sure everything fell in place here, right? Which everything looks pretty good. I like to do my checks and balances after I've got the main part of the sketch done. And if I see something that needs correction, I'll go ahead and correct it. Now you can add some little veins coming, or little stress marks, or whatever you want to call them. Again, this is all just aesthetics. If you want to change his eye looking at us, you can. Go ahead and draw the bigger part of his eye here, the iris, and then draw the pupil inside. And then if you really want to get into detail, you can. I'm not going to do too much. Now, sometimes, you know, depending on the facial structure, you might want to move this eye closer to the nose. It just depends on the character. Now, if you're doing this shorthand, you know, basically what you would do is, again, we're just going to do a little recap. Oval shape, right? Oops. I like to slant it down a little bit. You don't have to. You can go straight like that. Slant it down. Draw a shape like this, almost like an alien face coming up, right? Almost, you can almost say that it's a halfway point between your egg. Now I'm gonna draw this one with a thicker neck. And a boxier face. So then right around here, I'm gonna draw his eyes. And remember, I inset it some. And let's zoom in a little. And this is just a recap. So then I will put an eye here. I'll do a circle here this time. Circle, nose here. Bring this down, chin. I'm not talking too much because I'm trying to focus, but you can watch and draw along. All right, so then what we do at this point is say, okay, let's, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and dive in. Let's say I wanted to emphasize it a little bit more. Let's pull this ink out so you can see it clear. All right, so we're gonna start with the eye. I'll just do a same type of eye as before, kind of half closed. This time though, I'm giving him more of a furrowed brow. And then drawing, you don't have to use the exact lines. Now I gave him an underbite, so I pulled his chin out a little bit more, his bottom mouth out a little bit more. And then pop in an ear. Now, let's see, what can I do with this one? How about we change this? Let's go ahead and black this in. We're creating a costume element, right? And this head would go like this. So to get rid of this ear that we've already drawn in, what I would do is shade this in like that. Again, we're doing this extremely fast, very shorthand, but you'll get the concepts and principles still apply. So then you can just add a few lines here. And there you have it. Quick little Wolverine sketch. But that was, you know, really just not my best work, obviously, but it just gives you kind of the knowledge of, hey, if you want to take this further, you can. All right, guys, that's going to be it. It's 33 minutes. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, like and subscribe. Anything that helps my algorithm, and I'll just keep making more videos like this or even better. You guys can even request in the comments what you'd like me to sketch in the next one. If you're struggling with something, let me know. Go ahead and click any of the links that I provide here in the video. You can go follow me on Instagram at Van Orden Art. And you can take one of my classes on Udemy, Skillshare, Gumroad, or just keep following me here, whatever you like. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.